Hey YouTube, it's Ixalan with another Pokemon Wi-Fi battle. This is going to be an OU match against NightstormZX. Met him on the TPX chat, pretty cool guy. So he leads off with his Jolteon, and I'm just going to lead off with Kermit the Frog and set up the rain. And I go for the Toxic, but he's faster and gets the substitute up. And that kind of sucks. So he's just going to go for the Thunderbolt, which I barely survive. And I go for the Scald because I just want to break his substitute before I die. And I get the crit, but that doesn't really matter. I would have broken the sub anyways. And now that I have the rain up, I'm fairly confident that the Toxicroak can survive anything. So I go out with my Frog Prince, and he takes that Shadow Ball like a beast. Dry Skin starts recovering him, and I just Earthquake Jolteon because I'm Scarfed, and I'm fairly confident that I'm faster, since I know this Jolteon isn't. And then he's going to go out into Volcarona, his Brisingter, and it doesn't have Levitate, so I'm just going to Earthquake it. And it looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO, and he goes for the Quiver Dance, which doesn't really bother me at all. And he's got the Power Gem, or Power Herb, or whatever it is, that lets him Solar Beam in one hit. I'm not sure why he did that, because I'm resistant to grass moves, so I just go for the second Earthquake. And then he's going to go for the Flamethrower, which is probably what he should have done initially, because that would have 2-hit KO'd me, and definitely beaten me. But it works, and I get the second crit, and that's a dead Volcarona. And at this point, my Toxicroak's pretty much dead, so I don't want to give Crocodile the Moxie boost, so I'm going to switch out into Archangel, my Skarmory. And I guess he expected me to leave it in as Death Fodder, because he goes for the Earthquake, and he's probably Choice Scarfed since he switches out into Jellicent, and I just use that opportunity to set up Stealth Rocks. And then I'm going to go for the Protect to see what I'm dealing with Jellicent, and it's an offensive Jellicent. It goes for the Scald, and I'm pretty confident that I can live one of those, even in the rain. So I'm just going to go for the Brave Bird, which does some damage, and he goes for the Scald and brings me down to 1 and gets the Burn, which is not what I wanted to happen, so that's a dead Skarmory, not much I can do about that. Now I'm going to go out into my Giant Weed and set up the Substitute while he recovers up his damage, I guess fearing Seed Bomb or something. And then I'm going to Leech Seed him while he Acid Armors, gets his defense up, and I still think that I guess at this point he thought it was probably a sub-offensive Venusaur, but it's really just a wall. And I'm going to go for the Sleep Powder at this point, just get rid of this Jellicent, and if he leaves it in and lets me drain its energy, I'll be pretty happy about that. I predicted the switch, so I went for the Leech Seed again, and that was kind of a waste of a turn. So I'm going to use Hidden Power. My Hidden Power is Fire, just because I want to do some residual damage while he's sleeping. It's going to do basically nothing. And he, of course, recovers it all up. Gets his Jellicent to full health before switching out, since he realizes there's nothing he can do to this Venusaur, and it's just going to be a stall match forever. And he goes out into Scrafty, which is probably going to be a problem for me. I go for the Sleep Powder, and of course it misses. And so I'm going to go for it again, and Scrafty is incredibly slow, so I finally get it, which is awesome. But of course Scrafty has Shed Skin, so that doesn't help at all. So now I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed, try to set up, and he's going to start bulking up. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to handle this Scrafty because I don't want to take out my wall at this point. I'm hoping I'm going to go for the Sleep Powder and not get the Shed Skin one turn so I can have a safe switch, but we'll see how that works. Now that he stays asleep, I'm going to switch out into Kermit the Frog and go for a Surf, but of course he gets the first turn Wake, goes for the Payback, brings me down to 10. I know I'm not going to be able to live another attack, and I don't have any healing moves. So I just go for the Toxic, hoping that with residual damage, I'll eventually wear the Scrafty down, even if he, continues bulking up and tries to sweep. And I get the Toxic, he goes for the Drain Punch, finishes me off, gets a little bit of his health back. Probably the best play for him. Now I'm going to go out into my Latios, Heyo, and I'm going to go for the Ice Beam to get some good damage. And I see it does about a quarter, but he goes for the Rest. And I'm like, okay, well, if he rests, I should be able to, finish him off in 3 or 4 turns. He'll probably rest again, but maybe the Ice Beam will get the Freeze Hack when he wakes or something. I don't know, we'll see. But he goes down to Jellicent to take the next Ice Beam, and that does negligible damage. So now I have to switch out, and I'm going back into my wall, and he goes for the Hex, which does more damage than Scald would, but not really that much. I don't want to start the stall war all over again, so I'm just going to go for the sleep powder straight off the bat. Once Jillison is asleep, I feel fairly confident that I can switch out, and I'm going to go into Toxicroak, because I know I can take the Scald if he wakes, and if he doesn't, the Dry Skin's just going to heal me up. And I go for the Earthquake, and it looks to be 3-hit KO, 2-hit at his health, but he wakes up and gets the Recover, and I'm like, shit, well, he can't do any damage to me right now, so I'm just going to keep Earthquaking, and every turn I'll get back health from Dry Skin. And he goes for the Recover until he gets to a pretty solid health, and then he sets up Acid Armor, so my Earthquake starts doing nothing. So I'm just going to stay in until I get about 3/4 of my health, and then I'm going to switch out. So I switch back into Venusaur to take whatever attack this is going to be, and it's going to be a Hex, which I take pretty well, but he does crit, so it does more damage than obviously I would want. Now I'm going to go for the Sleep Powder, because I don't want Jillison recovering, and he predicts that very well and goes into Scrafty, which is already asleep. So I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed on the next turn, and of course, since Scrafty's awesome, it avoids the Leech Seed, and then sheds Skin and wakes up. At which point I'm like, okay, I don't really want to deal with this, go back to sleep. So I Sleep Powder Scrafty and, you know, get it out of the way, don't let it rest or anything. Now, he's going to switch out into B-Sharp, whatever it is, and I'm just going to go for the Leech Seed, which finally starts getting some damage on this thing. And he went for the Psycho Cut, which I didn't know that B-Sharps carry, because I think this was probably my first battle fighting against one. So I switched out into Toxicroak, you know, predicting the Steel or Dark move or something that I could take. And he Psycho Cuts, and that's a dead Toxicroak, so it's finally out of the battle, which kind of sucks. So I lock myself into Surf with Latios, and he switches out into Jillison, which takes the Surf pretty well, but he's at low enough health that I feel like I can take him out with something that's not a Surf. So I switch out Latios into Starmie, and he just goes for the Recover, of course, to get himself back up to a respectable health since Surf won't kill him. And I'm just going to go for the Scald, hoping to get the Burn Hacks at this point, because I really need to take out the Jillison, and I don't really have anything. I don't have an Electric or Grass move that's going to be effective on this team. Hex looks like it's going to be a 2-hit KO, so I have to start recovering just to keep Starmie around. And since the Jillison has Life Orb, I'm hoping that I can Life Orb stall it to something relatively low, and then come in with something and kill him. So that's pretty much my plan now, is just to recover, have him keep using Hex until he either gets a crit or I run out of recovery and dies. And of course he does get the crit, and that's a dead Starmie, so I just go into Latios and finish him off with a Draco Meteor. So he goes out into B-Sharp again, and I have to switch out because it resists Draco Meteor and I'm down to special attack drops. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go into Venusaur, who's my only other Pokemon left, and I take that Night Slash pretty well, a little under 100 after the leftovers, and then I see the Quick Claw, and so I'm talking to him like, you know Quick Claw is illegal, but it didn't really matter because I was apparently retarded and tried to Sleep Powder, but he avoided that. So we had a big discussion on Quick Claw. He thought it was legal. I'm like, no, it's still illegal. And I get to the second time with the Psycho Cut, but it doesn't really matter in the long run because I live with just enough to get my Hidden Power Fire off. And that's going to, you know, bring him down to the yellow, which is good enough for me because he's going to kill me with Night Slash finally. Latios is my last Pokemon, so I have to lock myself into a move since he's Choice Spect. And I'm going to go with the Surf because I know it'll one-hit KO the Crocodile, and that's my biggest concern, is that thing in Crunch. And it looks like Surf is going to be a 2-hit KO on Scrafty, and he doesn't get the Shed Skin Wake, so that works out awesome for me. I kill off Scrafty, and then Crocodile comes out, takes the Surf and dies, and that's good game, NightstormZX. Thanks for the battle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Bye.